Right, welcome to this terrain video. It's quite unique, this one here. Instead of painting from zero, in this video I'm going to show you how to take terrain from Gamemat.eu. This is the industrial terrain set, and turn it from this and then sort of upgrade it, and I'm painting it here to match in with my AdMech terrain that I'm putting together. You see, I have terrain here from Games Workshop, so painting up in this colour scheme, and you see the idea is to get this to match in with this, so the two match in nicely together. So it's not a complete repaint here, just sort of upgrading, and I think it's a very quick technique here. I've been able to get through the set pretty fast. In this video I plan to show you from start to finish how to turn it from the pre-painted terrain and then just to upgrade it this way. Different colour schemes you can go for. I've gone for the steeper red, but there's different options you can take. I should cover transfers as well. I've added some transfers just to give this an AdMech kind of feel as well. So the whole process plan to cover on this video. So you don't have to go for this deep red colour here. I've gone for a couple of colours because I wanted to mix it up a bit. Gone for this nice colour here as well, and I plan to sort of mix the terrain up with the different colours just to create a bit of variety. The key here that I'm going to present to you is that it's a quick process and you don't need to spend ages. So you buy the pre-painted terrain and we're just going to upgrade it a bit. We're not going to overhaul the whole thing, and that's going to speed things up and you'll get great results with not much effort at all. So I'll cover materials that you'll need here to do this. Obviously the pre-painted terrain from Gamemat.eu. If you go onto their website, this is one of their older sets, but in my opinion one of the best sets that there is. This is the industrial terrain set. You get a whole load of stuff. You get 4 of these. You get 4 of these containers here. There's a really big one. I'll show you later on how the different pieces of terrain look when they've been painted. There's some pipes as well that come with it. So you'll be able to use, I'll show you how to paint this one, and you'll be able to use the same process, same technique on the whole terrain set. As boxes and barrels, you can use the same process as well. But it is a big set, and I just think it's nice as it looks as it comes pre-painted, but I just think this is a nice upgrade, and it's easily done just to really enhance and to make your own set unique compared to what other people have. So just the terrain as it comes, you just go for the pre-painted option, and that's how it will look, which is a great base colour anyway, and we'll just build up from that. We're not going to replace that. You can see it being used here anyway in this colour scheme. Just push that to the side. Use just one spray because we're not going to spray this in a colour. Just going to use the colour that's already there. So it's just Purity Seal that you'll need, as I use from Games Workshop, or a good matte varnish. Then just the usual paints and brushes. There's a knife later on for the posters, for cutting those out. I plan to make a separate video on that, how to do those Imperial Guard or Imperial propaganda posters and applying them to buildings and so on. So I'll do that in a separate video. And then you'd need PVA glue just for applying the poster. Again, I'll cover that in the video. And then some washes. These will add some nice effects. There's Phenol Oil, Seraphim Sepia, Agrax Earthshade. So use all 3 of those. Then onto metallics. It's not many colours here. Hashak Copper. You don't have to go for copper, you can go for bronze or whatever colour you want to use, or even steel, you don't have to, but I wanted to add in a different colour, a different metallic into this, just to, it's easily done and just adds a bit of interest to the model. Corn red for this red colour. This colour here, I've gone for Avalon's Sunset. Another colour I've used has been the Shabti Bone. It comes up quite nice when you paint it with that. Abaddon Black. And then Runefang Steel, we'll mix that with the copper later on to make a highlight, and the Iron Breaker, that's for all of the metallic work you see here and the chipping effect, which I'll cover in this video as well. So my philosophy of terrain is to make it look good, but you don't want it to look better than your models. It's the models is going to be the main focus, and I want that in all of our games. So the terrain is there in the background, but it's not so bright and so complicatedly painted that it starts to overwhelm the actual models themselves. So I usually go, you'll see it in the terrain that I have, I usually go for quite sensible colours, like this red here. It's not really a colour that stands out as such, just a nice sensible colour. And this Avalon Sunset, you know, it's bright enough, but it's not like a gaudy yellow colour. It's just sort of a sensible tan colour here, and you can add some rust effects to it and some chipping, and it blends in quite nicely. So that's what I want with the terrain, just to keep the terrain in the background of our games, but just to enhance it and make it look nice. That's the whole idea, and it'll save you time as well. There's loads of effort painting intricate details. You're just painting quite a basic, straightforward colour scheme, and you're getting your results nice and quick. So the first thing to do, your terrain arrives like this. I'm not sure if they varnish it or not when it comes out of the factory. I don't know. So what I'm looking to do here, and you can use your knife, is just look out for any like, not defects, but like flash lines or mould lines. This has been resin cast here, so you might find a couple. To be honest, there's hardly any. I mean, just tucked inside there's a bubble, which you get when you cast. If it's annoying you, you can just try and hook it out with a knife and see if that pops out. I'm just going to leave that one because it's tucked right in there, you hardly see it, but you might see a few little bits just to remove. But other than that, it's a very clean mould there, and there's not really much work to be done to that. So the next thing to do, and this is important for the washes and the effects that go onto this, you want a good surface. So the first thing I do is actually spray it with Purity Seal. So just give it not a heavy coat, but just a good spray all the way around. I don't bother with underneath, just a good spray all the way around, like so, and from on top, and just catching all the angles. And that means that the paint will go on really nice. It won't start to puddle and break up, with the surface tension. And then it also means that you can put your washes straight on, and they'll flow in nicely and spread out evenly, just because of that base coat of that Purity Seal will really help out, or a good varnish, whatever one you want to use, and you should get just a nice flat finish, flat tone, and then your paint will flow on nicely and not start to puddle and to break up with surface tension and so on. So it's really important to do that. Just gives you a good surface to paint. But thankfully the colour scheme that Gamemat.eu provide with the terrain when it arrives is fantastic. It's a brilliant foundation just for you to put your colours straight on top. So immediately you're going to save loads of time just painting some colours here to get this project going. Alright, so we'll go on to the first colours then. It's the metallics I want to do, because we can afford to be a little bit untidy with those, just to get the colours on, and then we'll tidy up later on with sort of our main colour. So you're free to choose exactly whatever you want. My advice is not to do too much metallics, because again, you want to save time, just want to do a little bit of effects, and then just make use of the colours that are already there with this pre-painted terrain. So I've got the Hashak Copper here, and I'm using a shade brush here. It's sort of quite a narrow sort of here, so it's quite useful just to get this colour on nice and quick. So it's there in the pot. I'm not going to water it down because I want the pigment nice and strong, as long as it's flowing okay. And then I'm just going to work it into this sort of generator type thing in here. So you can see that immediately going on. It goes on nicely onto the colour, and sort of working with the brush, stabbing it in. I want to make sure it goes right the way in there into all of the corners. So you could paint all four of these at the same time. There's no reason why not. I think you'd be surprised at how quickly you can do it. So I've worked that in there. That's shaded in quite nicely. Catch the top. Catch the top of this one. So look, I've gone up the side of the wall here, but we're going to correct that later on, make it nice and tidy before any other washes go on top. So no problem. Into the next one. The whole idea is to be nice and quick and get great results. That's the aim of these tutorials, is to help you get some really good results. But you want to spend forever painting terrain when you could be getting an army done. So the great thing about terrain is, if you think about it, say you've got a faction, you use it in a game, and then you put it away and maybe use another faction. But with your terrain, you might be using it every battle if you have your own terrain. So it's worth the effort just to make it look good. And good terrain makes your models look even better. It's a nice backdrop for them, and it makes it more of an enjoyable game. So just working. See, I'd paint this really quick, just stab this in. If you miss a little bit, it doesn't really matter, just because of the colour. Foundation here is a good colour anyway. It would cover up any bits you've missed. I'm just working into here, catching on top. It's great colours, Hashak Copper. Now, so I was going to cut this out of the video, but you see that I've flicked onto there. I shouldn't have done that. So I'm quickly going to get a brush, and I'm just going to, with a wet brush, and just scrub that away before it dries. It's coming away. Just a wet brush. I don't want that on there, that's going to be shaded. And that's away from there. So this bit I do want to be neat. The main aim is not to get any copper around, sort of around here. This part on the floor and this ridge here. I don't want to get any of that because that's going to be left just to be shaded. So just stab with the brush. I'll not get all the corners, but it doesn't matter because it's tucked right away in there. And then just scrub that. Got it. Okay, so that looks good. So I've virtually done that. Just this side to do, and it's finished. I'll then, when I've finished, leave this brush, and I'm going to go for. I'm going to do that little area there. I can put a little bit, just to add a bit of interest to the terrain. Repeat it on the other side, and that's going to be enough. Avoid the temptation of just painting too much, and that's going to be enough to add a nice effect to this. Alright, so you do want to be neat there. Look, I've touched that in there as neat as possible. I haven't gone over any of the lines because I don't want to interrupt that at all, or I have to correct it. So nice and tidy on both sides, and then I've finished off the copper, just like that sort of nice generator sort of look there, and you're drawing a bit of interest to that. This sort of central bit here, and it looks good. So next is the iron breaker. Going to add a bit of silver. Again, avoid the temptation of starting to paint loads of it. You don't feel that you have to paint loads of areas. The only bit I'm going to paint on this, I'm going to leave this technique for all this nice colour that Gamemat.eu have provided here, and just these vents here, these extractor fan type things. It's just those that I'm going to fill in with some line breaker. So again, I'm using the big brush because I'm not fussed if I end up going over the surface of this. The main aim is just to get this on nice and quickly, and just stab it into all of the holes. I mean, maybe you can go for a smaller brush, be just as quick, but there's no pressure here at this stage to be neat. I do want to catch the edge all the way around, like so. Fill this one in. Honestly, not much effort here to get these looking good. Just going to stab the brush in there just to fill in all the gaps. Generally, as much as possible. It's only terrain, so you don't need to be too fussy. So that's those done. So I'm going to let all the metallics dry, and then these won't take very long at all. Then we'll make a start with this sort of the base colour, the main theme colour that you want to use for this terrain. So I'll be going for Avalon Sunset here. I've already painted two of these in this colour. I want to paint the other two in a different colour just to mix things up. So I can put the terrain together in a game, or I can split the terrain in half and just have a small outpost in this kind of colour scheme. Just to mix things up. Don't want to make it all entirely the same colour, so I've decided to add in the Avalon Sunset here. So that's the colour I'm going to use on this. So other colours, the corn red, that's very sensible. Just looking through here, the Shabty Bone I've been using for some of them looks good as well. Other colours, Strachan Green's sensible enough if you want to go for that kind of colour. Another one, Elysian Green, pretty good, sort of camouflage type colour as well. Another good option. So yeah, I mean all sorts of colours. The colours I would avoid is colours like this. Very strong, overwhelming colours, just not quite suitable for terrain. Not saying it's nice and subtle to be pushed into the background whilst you're playing your games. So Avalon Sunset then. What you can do is paint neatly with one brush, generally neat and tidy, and then fill in the large areas with a larger brush. So I'll just take some here, and then just with the neater brush, just go around this, working the brush in. I'm going to keep that in the original colour, this little spot coming up here. Now you are going to go over this again later on, there's washes and so on, so you don't need to make an absolutely rock solid colour here. You see that's not quite solid, that's fine. You want that effect anyway. And then the technique with the brush, I'm maybe just going to paint this with this one brush because I'm covering the area quite quick. So yeah, I'm happy enough with that, making quick progress. To get a nice textured effect on here for a larger area, I've been finding that using the brush like this, just making patchy sort of strokes. Not long sweeping, but sort of just patching the brush on creates quite a nice effect. Just there. There'll be other layers to put onto this anyway. But I just want to be nice and neat around these edges. Make no mistakes, and it just gives you nice crisp and tidy terrain. You may as well do it well the first time round. Let's work that around there like so. I'll just do this little bit here, but you can sit and do this and get through it pretty quick like that. So it's a nice colour, and we've got loads of effects to add on top of this. And then now you want to go down the side in here and do this nice and neat. So I'm going to go nice and tidy, run the brush down. Not absolutely perfect, you know, it's not an area where you're required to be super neat, but just tucking the brush in. Not going to be too fussed about tucking it right the way in just to be perfect, just generally so it looks good. So a glance when someone sees it, it's a nice tidy job. So you see I've worked it in there, no problem. The other great thing, depending on what paint you use, but I found this Avalon Sunset here, nice pigment. See, that's one coat and that looks great. Same with the Corn Red and the Ushabti Bone as well. The pigment's nice and strong, and one coat you get a pretty good coverage. Again, that's going to save you time. Don't want to make like a perfect solid coat, because that's not the effect you want. You want sort of a weathered look for this terrain. So I'm down here now, just coming up against this line here, so just want to get that tidy generally, and then fill that in. So making good progress here. So I'm going to go around the whole of the model, and again, I don't want to cover the whole area and go overboard with this. Just want to paint an area, a couple of panels, you know, to get the colour scheme going, and then leave the rest for shading and doing chipping effects on later on. Alright, so colour complete. Just gone all the way around. I've left this bit here exposed. I can chip that up later on after we've done the weathering effects or the washes. And this whole base here I've just left. You can take advantage of that colour scheme that's already provided for you. You're going to put some shading onto it and then just chip it up to get a great effect. So you're sort of picking out an area, a panel that you want to do. Same for this. Didn't want to paint the whole thing and make loads of works. Instead, just chose an area, an easy area to paint. So these panels here, just paint those, and then just leave the original colour and do the effects on top of that later on. So seems to have worked out quite well for that one. So same for all the terrain pieces, like so, and even for just matching the whole idea with the Games Workshop terrain as well. You see, I haven't painted the whole thing, these colours, just chosen an area, an easy area to paint, make that the feature colour, and then just do the effects on top. Plan to make a separate video for AdMech terrain for Games Workshop, so keep an eye out for that. That'll be a separate video how to paint that, because that's been painted from, you know, as it comes from the kit. So it's more of a, you know, here you've got a foundation colour, something to start on. You're sort of upgrading something that's already pre-painted. The Games Workshop stuff I'm going to show you right from the very start, you know, after the kit's been made, how to get to the finished effect. So base colours are done. Just going to look to put washes on now. So I'm going to try and tone this down, do weathering effects, just try and make it look nice and realistic. Basic colours are there, and it's at this point now, if you're not happy with your colours, now's the time to change. So if you paint it on, you're not happy with this colour, or whatever colour you choose, now's the time to switch it to something else. But I'm happy enough with that. I think it should look quite nice once all the effects are on. So what I want to do is take some Seraphim Sepia. And with this one, I want to paint this on the copper to give that a good tone. So I'm not sure what brush to use here, sort of a medium-sized brush. Should work okay. And just looking to flood that in. Again, it doesn't matter if you get it onto the colour at the side. I use this brush just for more control, so I can work it into all of the edges here. This will add a nice depth of tone, start to shade this. Flood it in there. Work it around. Got to make sure your metallic's nice and dry though before you do this. Stage here with the wash. Again, flood it into there. Collect up any excess. The tip to be later on, once it's all had a chance to settle down, just check the model over. If there's any big puddles, just suck them up with a brush. Don't want any big puddles forming. So just working on that. There, dropping the brush in to flood it. going to catch all the corners and nicely shade this copper. Now for the side. Working way up and then down this side. So way down. And just work along. See, it's not taking too long. Here, the shade. Just really want to enhance that copper, give it a nice effect here, and the Seraphim Sepia, it subtly just shades it nicely. Another shade will go on top of this once it's dry, just to enhance it further, and then a highlight after that, which just gives you a nice effect once it's all done. So working the brush through, but try and stick to a rule for terrain that you don't spend too long doing the finest of details. The trick is just to move on, get a good pace going. So this is the kind of pace I'd work out here. If you get 4 of these on the go, you can get through your colours quite quick and quickly build up your effects. And it's exciting when you've got terrain on the go. I've really enjoyed. I've taken a bit of time away from. I'm still painting my models, but I've taken a bit of time just to have a terrain break. And it's different to painting models. There's less intensity and stress, so you can just relax and enjoy painting your terrain. Get some great results. There you go. So that's shaded in, and then just want to flood this a little bit here, like so. And around the other side. So if you do 4 of the same, you get very quick at painting. So that's done there. Another little trick, again, it's all designed just to save you time. And I got some paint by accident from this base colour here, and a little bit of it's gone onto this panelling bit at the side here. If it's a minor thing, just leave it. We'll shade it later on, and where you've made a mistake, where it's flicked on, just cover that with some chipping effect. So you see like the chipping effect here, you flick a bit of yellow on this end, just put a chip over the top. Saves you having to try and mix the colour and match it and do repairs. You can just leave it and then just do a bit of chipping over the top, and that's will make that disappear. So again, that saves you time. Looking good. The other bit I want to shade now is these vents here. So that's the metal colour, the steel colour, so I want to shade that well. So I want to use some Nuln oil and just flood that in. Again, just using the brush here for a bit of control, stabbing and wiggling it just to make sure it goes in to all the crevices and then around the rim, like so. And you can see that shaded that down quite nicely. Let's do the other one, a blob of shading. Make sure you work it all the way in. I'm going to go around, like so. That'll be enough for that. And again, another shade will go on top of this later on. But that's a good foundation to get that shaded. And then I'm just going to do the last one. Do it on camera here just to show you how quick it is. So you can imagine you do a batch of these and just do the same thing over and over. You get nice and quick. So that's that shaded. Because I painted another silver anywhere else, it's over nice and quick. If I'd painted loads of silver areas, then you've got to do more washes on top, more effects, and then it starts to stack up the time taken. So far, we've got to that stage pretty fast. Already on the shading. So what I'm doing now is I have to make sure this all dries completely, so you've got to wait now. That's why it's good to do batches. You know, you can maybe start work on these or something like that to save time. Put these to one side and let this dry entirely, because the next shade will go on top of where you've already shaded. So the shade after this will be the Agrax Earth shade, and this will be applied to the whole of the model. So your base colour, the metallics you've already been working on, and the original colour that Gamemat.eu provide as well. Just going to shade all of that, just to shade the whole thing in, link the whole colour scheme together, pull it all together, and then we'll pick out some other details after that's dried. But that's the next colour, but just got to wait here for this to dry. Alright, so that's entirely dried. You've got to make sure it's completely dry, and then we're ready to go on to the Agrax Earth shade. So I'll probably end up using the rest of this pot here. Do get through your washes. Make sure you get a good supply. I've got these deeper pots here. For a terrain project, you're going to get for a couple of these. So make sure you have a good supply of your washes, especially the main one. Agrax Earth shade, going to cover a large area. So got my shading brush here, and I'll just put this wash on. So So dab it on, work it in, so even the metallic areas. Now I'm going to try and make the metallic look quite rusty and grubby. And then I do cover the whole thing. I want to knock this down a shade and then bring it up again a bit later on. Don't want it clean cut looking here. This is an industrial plant, so you want it grubby, weathered. You know, it's outdoors. Kind of look to it, so I'm just going to fill in all this. Yeah, this is quite quick. Get this done. And I'm going to just keep it quite tidy. Don't need puddles forming. Just shade around here. And then the area that's pre-painted, it goes from this to this when you shade it in. Just tones it all down and then shades in all of the cracks and crevices for you. It's a much better effect, I think. So you see the way it's done that. And because you've varnished it, see the way that the wash here just sits great on the surface. There's no surface tension there. So you've got a nice big brush, just working in at all the angles just to make sure I flood this in. I'm just going to stab along there to make sure I get it all shaded. Work the brush in at all the angles you need to make sure it shades properly. And you can see the difference. So that's shaded, unshaded, just there. Just enhancing what's already there, but it's a great foundation colour that you're supplied with, so that saves loads of time. You've had to do actually no work to the base part here at all. So again, using the brush to collect puddles, don't want to over flood the terrain, making sure I work it into this. It will shade in the coppery bit here as well. Again, working the brush around. Won't bother with underneath, you're never going to see it under there, so I never shade that, just leave that as it is. And just looking back here, I can see I've missed a bit, just stab that in. And just work all the way along. Back again. Making sure I get that all done, looks pretty well covered. So I've done a whole side there and some on top, just pretty fast. And you'll be looking to shade in where the copper is as well. So the whole thing, nice and tidy, and that's the kind of look that you get. So you get a weathered, toned down shade there. So there it is painted, quite stark looking. And then once your shade goes on, just tones the whole thing down nicely for you. So I'm going to do that across the whole of this terrain piece here. Alright, so that's the shading done. Just holding it at the corners here. But quite a transformation now. That's really weathered that. Looks pretty good. So I mean, you could leave it like that, but I'd like to enhance it and improve it here. There's some other techniques that we can use to improve it, but some difference now that you've got some colour on this. See, that's your original, which looks okay, but it's sort of the same that everyone else has. You know, it's the same standard colour scheme. Then just with a little bit of effort, you can bring in some nice metallic colours and then add in some nice colour as well. It's a great way to add a nice theme to these here. But you can see it's half dry here. It's starting to dry off even as you're working along, but it needs to dry out entirely. So we'll let this dry and then we're ready to go on to the next stage. Alright, so that's dried off. It's virtually dried off. There's a little bit of wet just right inside here, but that's not going to have any effect or any impact on what we're going to do next. So just going to enhance what we have here. You've got this main colour here, got some chipping effect to do, and then to enhance the copper colour here, which we'll do first. So back to the original, hash up copper, and then some rune fang steel, nice bright silver colour. I'm just looking to take some hash up copper on the palette and some rune fang steel, about 50-50, but you're looking to make a nice highlight colour here for this. I'm going to add a little bit of water just to help with the flow, a bit more. You don't want it too silvery, you still want the coppery colour coming through. And then just a case of, I'm just going to pick out those ribs, the ribbed bits there. So on top, so you can see the difference. Got sort of a medium-sized brush here, and then I'm just going to pick out those ribs nice and tidy. Then just leave the shaded area in between. So if I rotate there, you can maybe just catch the colour of it. I might run a little bit down the middle. Something like that. You see the glint of it there? Looks quite nice. So just gonna do the highlight here. This is the final stage for this copper here. See, I'm quite happy how it's coming out. And then down on the inside, just there, pick out the step, the edge. You can catch the glint of it there, and then just catch the middle bit, pick out the middle bit. Sort of stabbing the brush in neatly, and I should be able to show you the result here, like that. Lovely colour when it's all highlighted and washed and shaded, and it was pretty quick to get that result there. Just with a simple base colour, some washes, and then one layer of highlighting. Again, just going to work my way around. Just working on this bit now, you can see the difference. Sort of stab highlighting, so sort of stabbing the brush along, dappling it in on the bits I want to show, and then just not avoiding the shaded areas. But see, it's not like sharp lines and really, really neat, so you're able to move quite quick. Even with this final stage here, it's coming along quite quickly. And again, if I wasn't filming, it'd be even quicker here, just working along. I'm going to catch in between the ribs just a little bit as well, might as well catch that. But that's the kind of results you're looking at. So there it is, shaded, quite flat. Then you bring the highlight in, you get a nice glint to it just there. So I'm going to do that. Same thing here, just going to pick this out with this colour as well. You can see I just run the brush across the detail, and it's as quick as that. And there's that picked out also. So I'll just complete the rest of this colour now. Alright, so that's the copper dump. Nicely finished off. Very happy with that. Just got a different metallic there, and just a little bit of work, and you've got a real nice effect. So that should look great on the battlefield. Next, I've got the Avalon Sunset. So I've got a damp brush here. I don't want a real dry brush, quite damp. There's a bit of water being held in there, and I'm going to take this colour. And here is where your brush technique, you need to sort of do a good brush technique. Now it's up to you how much weathering you want to leave on top of here. I'm going to make it sort of generally clean looking, but you can see the shading, especially around the edges and so on. But you can leave as much of the grubbier look underneath exposed as you want. So I'm going to sort of just this kind of effect here, just spatuling the colour on, but behind it you can still see a lot of the weathering effect that's taken place, and that's sort of the damp brush is helping with that. So you're being tidy, and then when you come up to an edge, I just sort of stipple it up to the edge and then leave it there. No real sharp, going around sharp with the brush. You don't want a clean break, you just want it all stippled in is the effect you're after. And just stippling it there, and that's the kind of result I'm getting. So subtly behind that is that shading effect that you've done. You can go as subtle or as you want. I mean, you might want to leave whole patches looking grubby, which would look great. I am going to put a wash on top of this and some weathering effects later on just to tone it down again. But I might be tempted just to leave, I think I'm going to leave some patches here sort of grubby looking. About that end bit there, I'm just going to leave that looking grubby. I think that's a nice touch. It's an industrial complex, so there's going to be areas of dirt and grime. See, I've flicked it a bit onto here. I'll leave it. I can put some chipping effect on there. So I'm just sort of stippling the brush up to the edge where the shading is, but not doing not doing sharp, neat lines around it. I'm going to stipple some in here. Just generally wanting to pick out the colour. I might leave an area inside this dirty as well, this corner here. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Leave sort of a dirtier corner there. Maybe just pick a bit on this left hand side. So you can leave patches looking grubby there. So working it around. I'm not going to second coat this. This will work fine. Working the brush along. I've made a mistake there. Just a wet brush. Take that away. It's a mistake on the end there, but I can just remove that with my finger here. And again, just going to carry on working along with the brush. So it's quicker. You're not having to do tidy, sharp lines. You're just stabbing it in with the brush. Generally neat. That looks alright, and your shading looks pretty good. So you're going from this to this as much as you want. or as little as you want. It's up to you how tidy you want this to look, but it's free reign here. You can do as you please because it's just got a license to make this look however you want. So I'm just going to work the brush around so you can start picking up the pace here. Up to there, not fussed about going in too tight. Work the brush around there. So I've got an older brush here. I'm going to go nice and neat though up to this copper. Don't want to get any paint onto that because that's finished. And just stabbing the brush around. And it's getting that kind of look. I'm quite happy with that. So I'll just carry on working around here, stabbing the brush along. Like so. Just sort of blending it in just with the way you're using the brush. But being neat, I'm not going to get any paint onto any metallic areas, so you just really are controlling what you're doing. Just skipping the brush from side to side seems to work quite well as well. Not brush strokes here, I don't want it to make it look like it needs a second coat, so just sort of subtly stabbing it in. Like so. Into here. So that's the kind of results we're getting. And I'll do this little bit here. Just on with the paint. Stepping it. There, quite happy with how that's coming out now. So again, just running the whole process all the way around, just being neat and tidy as I go inside here, and try not to get the paint anywhere, but at the same time just creating kind of a rough effect just by the way that you're using the brush. But you can see it's sort of stippled in there, and it's giving it that nice effect. So I'll just complete this here across the rest of the model. Alright, so that's the effect. Now that colour's back on, but it's all shaded. You can see here, look, there's shading going on all over the place where I've sort of left it. Just sort of scrubbed it in. Generally the colour's done, but there's that rough feel to it, so that's the kind of effect we're looking for. And as much or as little as you want. We really transform this here. This colour's really helped out. This metallic here looks great as well. So now what we're going to do is pick out the metal here again, just to strengthen that, similar to how we did the copper just here. And then I'm going to do some chipping effects. So on all of the paintwork around here, and also all of the metallics, or there's this brown colour around here, just chip the whole thing up to add that kind of metal, to make it look metal. So compare these two, just subtle. A bit of chipping on there just brings that to life, and you can see the chipping around the edge of the paintwork as well, just to make it look like a industrial unit that's made of a metallic colour. So quite straightforward. Just going to pick out the rim, quite solid. I'm using iron breaker here, so not the ring fang steel, but the iron breaker. Then just on the inside, just going to flick across some of these fan bits here. Not going to worry about the edge running around, just on top I'm going to catch. Doesn't take very long at all. And just flick on the inside a little bit. So there's the difference between the two. And then for chipping, just along here you can use the edge of the brush, and I want to chip the whole thing. I'm just tilting in just to lap it over the edge a little bit, so you maybe see the glint of that edge being caught along there. And I'll catch this edge, and you can start moving quite quickly once you get used to it. Just very random areas where it's being chipped along. Then one effect you can do is to stipple the tip of the brush in, just to make some chipped off areas. So if I just tilt that, you can see it. That's using the end of the brush. Might put one really random. You don't want to go too over the top. This is one you want to be quite subtle with. So, and again, that'll save you time, not having to do loads. So just a couple bits there. I might do a little bit at this end, as much or as little as you want. And I catch the edge of this, the edge of this one. Another type of effect you can do is like a scratch. So a couple of lines like that creates a scratch there effect, like a mark either across the middle of a panel or coming in from an edge. So I'll do a few from an edge here, just to give you an idea of how that could look. But that just breaks it all up and adds a bit of effect. So I'm just going to repeat that across all of this model, and again exactly the same process there on the colour as you do on the brown shade area. So catching the edges, not all of them but just some. I'll catch the edge of this, and you're just going wherever you think exposed bits would be that would be hit and bashed and chipped. So a bit here, Just catching this down here, like the edges and corners are going to be the main areas, like so. And then I'll show you a bit down here. So just going to catch the edge of that corner there. Going to run along the top of this edge, edges of these circles a little bit, and I might put, see that chipped up nicely, and I just might put a few little scuffs in there, just stippling a little bit as well. And then down the side, same process again, but not doing too much. Don't want to do too much, go too overboard. And catching this edge here as well, like so. So you'll go from that quite flat looking, and then you just bring it to life, a little bit of chipping effect, like that. So I'm just going to go over the whole of the model here. So not the copper, that's finished, but metallic work, the painted area, whatever colour you've gone for, and then this effector. It's nicely shaded in. You're just looking to create a bit of chipping effect, and some difference that is really does. I think it really looks good. I'll paint the whole thing here, finish off this process, and then you'll see the difference. Alright, so there you go, chipping effect done. It just really brings the whole thing to life. I think it's a great job. So very fast, really. I went around this pretty quick, about 10 minutes it took. You're just really catching the edges where you think any chipping would take place. You can see the edges here all chipped up. The majority of the original colour is just there, it's just been shaded, and then some chipping effect just to liven the whole thing up. So you can leave it at that stage there. In this video I said I would show you how to do transfers. I'd try to add some transfers in, especially some Games Workshop transfers where you can then try and link it into your other Games Workshop terrain. Another effect that I do is like some weathering here. I've got Seraphim Sepia. I usually find that's enough. And I've got quite a fine brush here with a good sharp tip to it. Just looking to paint a sharp line just where you think sort of the water would drip down if it was raining and so on, just leaving some rusty marks. So if you can see that there, it's just catching just a little bit of brown, bit of rust coming down. So it's Seraphim Sepia I'm using. So I'm just going to run some down here. And it just adds to the effect here, that rusty effect. And you can go over it twice just to strengthen it, just to make it a bit stronger. So that first one's dried out, and I'm just going to run down again just to make that stronger. But you just add into just some more effects here just to make this weathered kind of look. Now I'm going to do some underneath here as well, just running down like so. And this lighter colour, this Averland Sunset here, is a good colour for this rust coming down, so I like it. So you can see that effect just there. You can also go for sort of rust patches, so you can just spatula some on. I might go with this colour here for this one, looks quite good. For this colour scheme, it wouldn't really come out very well. It's a lot darker colour, so I've used black there, mixed with some Nuln Oil. That's what the black was for in the list. So you can go for that darker colour there. But I think for this one, sort of the rusty effect looks pretty good. But you can choose whatever colours you want to use. And again, just patches. Don't want to go too over the top, but just sort of stabbing the brush on here. Maybe use an older brush to do that. You get that kind of effects just there. And all these layers of effects here just create this nice weathered kind of look. So there it is. Without it, looks quite stark and plain, and then here you add in a bit of weathering. That looks like it's been outdoors, and the effects of the elements on the paintwork. Then you can also catch like from an edge. You don't have to go from something, a feature. You can run it from an edge here and just bring it down. It's no problem at all. Just want to make sure that you keep the line straight, because the water's going to go down dead straight. So making sure you do it neat and straight, running down. It's a great effect to add. It looks nice and realistic when you do it properly. You can see it there, and if it's too weak looking, it looks alright, but if it's too weak when it dries, I'll just add another layer on top just to strengthen that. I'm just going to go around the whole of the model here, but the key is don't do too much, just a little bit here and there for this effect. Alright, so finished. Not too much, it's quite strong that one running down the middle there, but it's okay, looks alright. And then running around here, you see I've mostly come down from underneath this, and then just underneath here as well, just bring it, some of these sort of stain marks coming down here, and you can see it running down the side. Nice features to add in, easy enough to do, and just all helps with the weathering effect on the model. So looks pretty good now. So I said that I'd show you how to do transfers. We'll cover that next. So you choose whatever transfers you want. I'm doing AdMech sort of theme. It's the time with my Skitarii and so on. I've got the Skitarii transfer sheet here from Forge World. There's loads of, and you can use the standard transfer sheet as well that you get in with the kits as well. It looks pretty good. But here there's all sorts of numbers, symbols, there's writing, there's patterns here of all kinds if you want to add that in as well. There's numbers, but I'm just gonna, it's quite random really. I've got just some subtle ones, smaller ones being used here. These look quite good. These are from that transfer sheet as well, and a big AdMech symbol just in there as well. So there's no uniform way. Again, you're free to choose exactly what you want to do. So you can choose whatever you want here. I like this one here. I think with the yellow, should look great here on this Avalon sunset, so I'll cut that one out. And I'll go for one of these panels of writing. Just cut this out carefully. Just using the sharp tip of a knife with the cutting pad underneath. So that one. And an AdMech symbol of some kind. This one here, because it's got a black edge, that'll stand out quite nicely on this piece of terrain. But very random here, just stick them wherever you want. And then, not the numbers, don't think so. I don't want to use these red ones. I don't want red encroaching onto that colour scheme, so I'll leave those red ones there. That looks pretty good. Yeah, maybe one of these hazard type yellow triangles. Just get a smaller one on there as well. And again, it's the same thing again. You don't want to go over the top because it looks too much, too overpowering, and like you've overdone it, and then that's also going to save you time. I'm now dipping them into some water. I'll let them soak on my palette here. Just dip them into the water, and they can sit there and soak on that palette until they're ready to slide off. Alright, so these transfers are starting to move here, so we're ready to go. The trick with transfers to help them stick and also to stop that ghosty effect behind when they dry is a little drop of PVA glue and just mix that in with your water. So I think I'm going to put an AdMech symbol just here. It sits quite nicely just in this gap here. I want to save some of these areas for posters perhaps. So I'm going to take some water on my brush and some PVA glue and then just create an area prepared and ready for this transfer to go on. It's a mixture of PVA glue and water. If I turn it you can see the glint of it there. Now I'm going to pick up this transfer on my brush and then just drop it into position just where you want it to go. It's pretty well placed. And then very carefully, either you can use a brush or you can use the tip of a knife if you're careful, because you don't want to split the transfer, but it tends to grip the transfer well if you need to move it. So I'm just going to pull it into position where I want it to go. I think it looks pretty good just there, quite square. Actually needs to go to the right a little bit. Just using the point of the sharp tip of the blade here, and it's moving that along. That looks quite good like that. These transfers do look nice on this Avalon sunset. Another advantage of using this colour here. Then using a tissue, you don't have to, if it's thin enough you can just leave it to dry naturally, but you can just dab, but you've got to be very careful you don't move the transfer. So keep an eye on the transfer as you dry it. That's come out pretty good. Alright, so I'm just going to apply these other transfers using the exact same process, but you put them wherever you want. I mean, here's like a vent here, so maybe they'd have a warning sign around that. So you might put one just on top there. And then wherever else you think, like you wouldn't put writing here because no one's going to read it at ground level, so maybe it would go here instead or down here. So you've got to just think logically where you think transfers should go. So I'll just complete this here. Alright, so that's done. So I've put bit of the writing here, a small little hazard symbol. It's very small, insignificant transfer, almost not worth doing that one. That one looks nice just sitting there, I think it looks great. And that one that we done earlier on. Not too many, just a few here and there. Like if you sit at this angle during a game, you'll see a couple of transfers, catch them from different angles. Don't want to go too over the top, but it's just a subtle way of trying to link this terrain in with your 40k terrain by using some Warhammer 40,000 transfers. Also posters, I'll cover that in a separate video, sticking some posters on the terrain to bring it into the realm of Warhammer 40,000 as well. So there's a little bit more to do. So you just take, you want the transfers to merge in with the terrain, look like they've just been freshly stuck on. So I take Seraphim Sepia and also some Iron Breaker, and again only a very small amount, but with the Seraphim Sepia I knock these down in tone, try and take away the stark white colour by just patching on a little bit of the Seraphim Sepia just there. And I'll do that to all of them. That one's hardly worth the effort, and this one here where the rust has run down, I'll just continue it through the transfer as if the transfer, you know, is meant to be there. It's subtle, but it just links the transfer in. Then round here, see that stark white? I'm just going to dab a few patches onto that. So it still looks white, but it's a bit muddied. And also what you can do, sharp tip on the brush, take the Iron Breaker and add in a couple little chips as well, just to link that transfer in with the rest of the paintwork here. Again, just subtle, just a little bit here and there. That links that all in. Okay, so I think this piece of terrain is finished. I might add some more transfers later on. We're virtually finished. Well, it is finished. All you've got left to do now to seal the whole model and protect it, so you get a lot of gaming time from it, and so it will be preserved over the years, and also it will help protect these transfers, and that's to then give it another coat of the Games Workshop Purity Seal. So when you spray, you just want to short bursts at a distance. You don't want a heavy lay. Don't think, oh, this is terrain, I need to put loads and loads of varnish on, because you can make it go all cloudy. So it's a very light sort of spray like that. That's the kind of pace I would go, and then spraying across here, finished. And you may think, oh, there's hardly any going on, but there is. It's a fine mist. It goes on, it will cover the whole thing, and then a light coat, just about that kind of speed. That's all you need to do, and then that will be finished and protected by the varnish. But that's the results that you can expect to achieve. But you're going from this to this without much effort, and I think that's a great enhancement. The terrain it really is good from Gamemat.eu, especially this set. That's going to sit really nice in a game of Warhammer 40,000, and all you've done is just taken the basic colour scheme they've given you, and you just enhanced it, added a few colours on top, some washes, bit of chipping, a few effects here and there, and all of a sudden you've got a nice piece of terrain that will stand out across your battlefield. And you know, half the effort's done. You know, the terrain's been made for you, base colours there, and you've just enhanced it, and you've got some, potentially you can get some great results. But I hope that's a help to you as a way of enhancing this terrain from Gamemat.eu. Keep a lookout for other tutorials. I plan to make some more tutorials for terrain, some painting tutorials, how to build certain things as well. So keep a lookout for that in future on the channel as well. And just check out also all the videos already there, painting tutorials already here on YouTube, and some terrain and basing tutorials already. And then over on the Plus channel as well, I have in-depth painting tutorials, so bigger, tougher projects, and I'll show you how to paint those over on the Plus channel as well. But there it is, that's the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.